Hey, welcome to the Create Unknown, the home of Make Something Mean Something. I am Kevin Lieber. I was wrong, and with me, as always, is Matthew Tabor.
This is my second favorite genre of story. And if it's going to be good, it might compete with the first. But last time I was like, you being in unfortunate situations through no fault of your own is my favorite genre. Uh,
Me accidentally causing drama and being at the center of it.
it's like a sitcom character that, like Mr. Magoo style, although I guess he causes us stuff. But yeah, you just simply by existing find yourself in a bad place now and again. That's number one. Can't be topped, I'm sure. Number two, and it's a close number two. Number two is the I was wrong. And they're far less frequent. Once a year you get into a bad situation. That's about the timeline on that. I honestly can't recall the last time you concluded that, yeah, that one was completely misread, and the times have changed. The Liebers have changed.
Yeah, the people have changed, or maybe I have changed. Before we get to that, I do want to say a couple of things. First of all, there was a terrible tragedy with Oliver Tree dying
Yeah. Yep.
in a helicopter accident. So that was a shock. And, there are a lot of people, not that we're sort of like directly connected to, but like tangentially connected to, that had worked with him, like
Hmm.
Smearballs, Nick Denboer. I retweeted a
Right.
thing where he worked with Oliver Tree on a music video, rigged up like a perfect 3D scan of him, and is actually giving that away for free to people to use in tribute projects, which I think is really, really nice.
That was cool. Yep.
But yeah, I would recommend that people check out Oliver Tree's music videos because they were like really, really imaginative and creative and out there in a way that I don't know. I thought was interesting and unique and remarkable. And whether or not you're into the music or not, I think the visuals that he was able to put together, and so much effort went into those music videos that you could tell that he was really seriously passionate about them. Um, Look it up, check them out. I highly do recommend those.
I agree completely. His music was not for me. Just the genre, not a fit. Not a fit. Wasn't much like Kenny Rogers or Skinnerd. But the videos I watched, I probably watched all the videos because they were just extremely unique and entertaining. And I'm watching this and hearing this, like, so I'm like, oh, it's such a shame that this, misses me. I was a little too old to be into Oliver Tree when he started to put out music. I think it would have banged hard for me if I was like 15 at the time, but I wasn't. But I also really love the exchange that he had with Ethan Klein. Where did you see this clip resurface the other day? Where
Where you asked him why he was not relevant anymore or something.
he rips him for not creating anything anymore and simply critiquing.
Okay.
Yeah, and he does say, like, you're not relevant. And it's like, forget that part. But the main point is him saying, you know, you were great when you were making videos like Vape Nation, like that was funny and you were making things. And now you sit at a desk and just, you know, decide whether something or someone is good or bad. And that's lame. Um, it's a, tense clip. And the weird thing with Oliver Tree is you never quite know. You never quite know what's a performance and what's real, right? So that element makes it cool, but it's a completely legitimate conversation to have that a lot of people should have somebody across from them asking that question. And so I liked it.
It is a really interesting thing to bring up to someone who you know has the talent to do
Yeah.
things that a lot of people like, create original art that a lot of people like, and then they stop doing that and instead become, yeah, I guess like a cultural critic, which is very, very different. And I would say much lower effort, as far as what you're
Yeah.
putting out into the world. In the same way that sitting here doing this podcast is not the same level of effort as spending 6 weeks on a YouTube video.
And
It's
it's not
just
the same
not.
thing. Talking about Carrie is a very different service to the world than
Than making Carrie.
Stephen King sitting down and
Yeah,
writing Carrie.
right.
But it's you're watching this exchange, and like that conversation should be in your own head all the time. Like that's a conversation that you have to have with yourself all the time. I know that we do.
Sure. Yeah.
We do it constantly. And that's why I liked it. I'm like, oh, he's verbalizing this and forcing Ethan to think about it, when hopefully he's thinking about it himself. But since that was a tragic end for Oliver Tree. You see, Gene Shalit died as well.
I did, and Gene Shalit is someone who I did not know was still alive. Like, we talked about
Yeah,
this, like, literally last week, I think, in regards to Ray Liotta.
right.
I had forgotten that he passed away several years ago, and conversely, had absolutely no clue that Gene Shalit was still alive and was 100 years old when
A
he passed
hundred.
away. Yeah, which is triple digits, baby. Like,
Yeah,
that's goals right there.
but he was a real critic.
He was a real critic.
Where
Yeah.
it was hard work criticism. It was real work criticism. It wasn't just lazy opining. Uh, and I never followed this stuff, super closely. Uh, but it was obvious that it was high quality. It was informed. It was excellent. And there aren't a lot of people like Gene Shalit anymore. Not sure they really can exist the way they did 30 years ago.
Yeah, or even, yeah, Siskel and Ebert too. Those clips, for some reason, I don't know why, have been resurfacing. Just clips of Siskel and Ebert talking about various films from 40 years ago. They are interesting to watch now.
They're great. They're great, and I think it was Roger Ebert who had that quote about fandoms and the people who get involved in fandoms. That has been making the rounds on Twitter as well in the last couple weeks, saying that like the sort of person who camps for 3 days outside a movie theater to see a thing first, first and foremost, they're not movie fans. They're not fans of the movie. They're fans of this thing. Uh, and talking to like they're in this self-contained world and have made this an identity with them. And he says that talking to them is boring.
Really?
Yeah, it really is fascinating to see it in new contexts, like the people obsessed with certain video games, stuff like that. And it's like, boy, he nailed it. He nailed it in like 1995.
Yeah. Well, the other thing on a much less important topic that I wanted to mention is I found a book that I've been reading that I'm actually really enjoying after
Yeah,
I've had a rough year with the books that I've been reading for whatever reason. 2026 has been like a lot of duds, a lot of DNFs as they're called, did not finish. I've been giving up on books. So what I decided to do was to go back to an author named David Gemmell who wrote a book called Legend that I read a couple of years ago now that I really liked. It was a book. It was like I recalled it as being one of the few books that I read in like a couple of days because I couldn't stop thinking about it and just wanted to see what happened. So I was like, why don't I just read another one of his books? He wrote like 30 of them. Maybe I should do that. So that's what I've been doing. I've been reading this David Gemmell, Sword in the Storm. And it's the first book in the Reganti series. He's got several series that he wrote. But yeah, I've learned that this genre is called heroic fantasy.
Okay.
And I
I
think
didn't know that
that's
that
that.
sub term.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess neither did I. But maybe it's like with when heavy metal has like 78,000 subdivisions. Maybe fantasy does too. And this is the one that maybe is what I like, where there is a hero and he's, destined for greatness and there's prophecies and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. That is like catnip for some reason to me. I can't get enough of that type of story.
They don't get old. They kind of don't. It's just a question of did they do it badly,
Hmm.
But like the sorts of things that happen in Conan. Like, if you like that movie, you're going to like every movie that's adjacent to it. Like no matter what, and even if it's terrible, like when we were talking about the Chuck Norris movies, like
Oh, yeah.
Lone Wolf McQuade is not a good film.
No.
But when you look at the ratings on it, it's like 4.8 on Amazon. So like a thing can be abysmal and still be awesome to watch. If you like those kinds of stories, if you
Yeah.
like those kinds of movies. And so I believe that this would be a subcategory where it would be hard to completely turn you off.
Well, and I also think that part of it is that, in my estimation, there's been a large pushback against this type of storytelling in the
Yeah.
past couple of decades. Really, I mean, I don't even think this is a recent thing. This is a pretty old thing.
Yep.
Aside from a couple, I mean, the John Wick series is certainly like a heroic type of series, not fantasy though, but and like you have Top Gun Maverick, which is a heroic film.
Mm-hmm.
But man, these are few and far between.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. So that's why you have to go back to the David Gemmels, I guess, of the world in order to get your fix on it. But even in the fantasy genre, it seems like it's been phased out and there's more like subversive storytelling happening. Anyway, I do recommend that. I have been enjoying it. And that's why I was eBaying and Abe booking the other books in the series because they're out of print. That's sort
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
trouble with getting into stuff like this is like, oh, you can't just get a fresh copy on Amazon anymore.
Yeah.
Gotta hunt it down.
Well, I've been reading Mitch Albom's books
Hmm.
because I never would. I never would read those sorts of airport books. Airport books for women. I think Mitch Albom would agree that that's not an inappropriate label for his books, because you know I knew him from the sports reporter days and all that, his sports work. And I just wanted to see what his books were like, and I like them. They're good. It's very good. Uh, it's very good writing and reading. I like it. It's good. The weird thing, the reason I'm bringing it up is that I'm reading Tuesdays with Maury on Kindle, and I use the Readwise app, which saves things that you've highlighted, and then in 2 clicks can tweet them out. And it's well formatted and looks good and whatever. I've not saved a single sentence in like 40% of that book. Yet it's still really good. And that's an odd phenomenon to me, that it can be good, but there's no sentence that I want to remember. Yeah, there may be, but I
Interesting.
don't see it. There might be one or two that pop up. Uh, but most of the things that I read, there's quite a few at the end. And I get an email newsletter from Readwise in the mornings that just randomly selects things you've saved and has a rundown of them. So I see the things that I've saved from other books and the sorts of sentences that I've saved. And there's just none. It's sort of like a restaurant I like going to, but I can't tell you what I like on the menu. It's
It's
like that sort of Cracker Barrel for me. I love Cracker Barrel, I love it, and I've never had a bad meal there, and it's inexpensive, and I like being there. I like all things about Cracker Barrel. But if somebody's like, but what do you really like about Cracker Barrel? I'm like, I don't know. The the diet Coke, the Coke Zero free refill, like there's nothing that stands out that way. So it's a really odd phenomenon, and was kind of an eye opener. It's been a really long time since I've read something like that, uh, where you can make something very good and very enjoyable. Every sentence doesn't have to be some prophetic banger. It just
Mhm.
doesn't.
Yeah. There's stuff in this Sword in the Storm book that I would love to save. I need to figure out some kind of way of, because I much prefer, I don't want to read on a Kindle at all.
Yeah,
I like to hold the book, but yeah, that the convenience of being able to save stuff like that, man, that's
it's
really
awesome.
nice. It's really nice.
It's
Um,
awesome. I will actually pay more for the Kindle version at this point.
for that
A couple
reason.
dollars more so that I can have that feature, because I don't know how you'd handle it. If anybody has an idea of how, like, the clean way that you can deal with an actual physical book and still get that result, must be something.
Yeah.
Must be something.
Yeah. I was thinking of just taking my phone and taking pictures of it and then transcribing it, but man, that's
It's a lot of steps.
annoying. Yeah, but it
It's not
will
hard,
be
but it's a
worth
lot of
it.
steps.
Yeah. All right. So here's where I was wrong, and this is something that I brought up years ago to you, and I think that you
Yep.
disagreed with me. If
I
I
still do.
Okay, you still
Uh
do. You
I
really?
don't know.
Okay.
Let's see if I remember accurately what your position is.
Okay. So years ago, when I was doing what I called the human videos on Vsauce2, um, which were like the invention, or then I call it the invention of series. So the invention of dragons, the invention of blue, uh, history of recording ourselves, all of those types of videos. One of the videos was called "Will Robots Make Us More Human?" That's the title of the video. I don't think I ever. It's like one of the few of those videos I don't think I ever changed the title to.
Yep.
Um, so the question was, "Will robots make us more human?" And I think this came out, I don't know at this point, how many years ago? 7, 8 years ago? Something
I
like
think
that?
2017.
Yeah. Oh, so a long time ago.
Long time ago. Yep.
Way before AI, let's put it that way. Way before LLMs and chat GPTs and all of this sort of thing. It was way before the advent of that technology. And really the crux of my argument in the video that I disagree with now was that I concluded that yes, that like, the like automation and will free up, it frees up leisure time, it frees up human beings to do strictly human being things, which has which is like interpersonal connection, um creating art, friendships, families, whatever, bonding, social grooming, I don't know, whatever it is that is like uniquely human, by automating things that what we have seen evidence of. And that's like basically what the video is. It discusses, like the Luddite fallacy and how the invention of the washing machine and the dryer, freed up people to not be washing clothes by hand all day, and
Completely.
et cetera, et cetera. So, like, the more that your hands and your mind are free from doing essentially what would be considered mundane tasks, then the more freedom you have to spend it not doing those and instead do more meaningful human things.
Yep.
Um,
That is
and
all completely and totally true. Like, it has happened that way so many ways that even saying we take them for granted doesn't cover it. So, like, the the reason that kids go to school and go to school from 5 to 18 in most countries is a function of wealth creation. We could afford to do that. And it's not just like paying for the school to be run. It's like, no, we don't need 9-year-olds running textile looms anymore. We don't need to do that. We can have fewer people, far fewer people working in agriculture and factories and all of that stuff that frees up younger than adult people to do things that are more productive, and on paper that is school. It's its own topic. That has happened. I mean, it's shocking how I am only able to get by such that I do here in my house, in the land that I live on, because of so many different advances with simple things with like routine household stuff that I know for a fact, because it was my family what it took 3 generations ago to keep people fed, clothed, clean, and have a place that's reasonably functioning. I can get away with that with extreme efficiency compared to the past. I put, my washer and dryer is connected to my phone, and buzzes when it's time to change the load. Like this is wizardry compared to 1950, right? I have very efficient machines to do things outside that were not available in the past. I mean, so this stuff is absolutely true. However,
Yes. However, there things happened in the subsequent years that has changed my mind about my conclusion. Which
yep.
in retrospect, I feel my conclusion was, to be perfectly frank, naive. I think it was naive and utopian. Those are the two words I would use to describe. I could probably use more pejorative terms as well, but let's just stick with utopian and naive. The sense that when unburdened from essentially having to work at the end of the day, like that's largely what the video is about.
Yeah.
That human beings would in en masse flourish and essentially unlock their potential that has been burdened by grunt work, basically. That was the thesis that I now do not agree with and think was naive and utopian.
I think I'm kinder to you on this than you are to you.
I probably, yeah.
Because I see you not having been wrong, but overestimating the degree that the response to it, how people would respond. That's the part that I see as being different than what you hoped for in that video. I don't know if it was naive so much. I feel like the world has disappointed you. That's what it comes down. I don't think this is a Kevin Lieber was wrong issue so much as the world has not risen to the occasion that you very clearly presented.
Yeah. Kevin Lieber is sad. Is what it actually
Kevin is sad.
Yeah, I am
You're
sad.
not wrong. You're sad. But I'll start on this with like I'll take I'll use me not rising to the occasion as an example. There was a time in life, this was let's say about 20 years ago, where I was really serious about physical things. Okay, like athleticism, health, etc. That was hard to do then. It was hard to know about hard to know what was true, what was not. It took a lot of effort to be in really good shape and to be able to execute physically in any kind of specific or even generally meaningful way. That was a really big endeavor. Now it is so insanely easy. What you need to know, you can get in 10 minutes, and it's true, it's reliable. There's a lot of idiotic, health stuff. Of course there is. But it's compared to 20 years ago, um, you can get into a really good place super easily. You can know what to eat. You can know what exercises generally to do to avoid. I just can't even explain properly how much easier and better
We've
all
also
of that
learned that
is.
it's much less exercise than you would think. That's something that
Yeah.
I've seen a lot in the last year where it's like 90 minutes a week is like pretty okay.
Yes. Yeah. In a sufficient amount of time, you're going to be in a great place. You just have to do it for a long time. You have to sustain it for a while, or you know, losing weight. It's like you don't have to go absolutely bananas. You just have to be sensible in this way for 9 months, a year, however long it's going to take you. But you just do it until you hit the point that you need to be at. Eh, it wasn't like that 20 years ago. Now you can get trusted, high quality information instantly. So it's so much easier, so much better, and for free, by the way, which it wasn't in the past. There was a massive cost one way or another to get access to this information. Well, why am I not completely jacked and optimized physically? It's so much easier. The hurdles, the barriers are gone effectively compared to the past. So you'd think if that's the case, well, you must be in peak form. You know, I'm not. I'm not in peak form. Okay. If you only do audio and you're only listening, you can trust me. If you watch the videos, you can see it's not disastrous, but I'm not turning any heads when I walk down the street. I don't look at the weather and see a clear day and think, oh, well, yes, I can do hard labor for 14 hours uninterrupted today. Well, that kind of thing would be the logical thing from the premise of your video, where it's like, this is better, easier. It should unlock this potential that was a struggle in the past. The truth is that it has not. It hasn't. So, you know, I'm living proof. And so are, bajillions of other people. I don't walk around Walmart and think, oh, everybody got the memo about what's effective to eat and exercise. And like, everybody looks amazing. We were slobs 20 years ago. Look at us now. Like, no, it's worse. It's so much worse than it ever
So
was.
much worse. Yeah. Yeah. And I think everything is worse in terms of, like general productive activity. I think everything is worse. So, but you're right. So there are a few things here. One is that, um, and a mistake that I made was thinking what I was being like slightly, or maybe completely solipsistic in my conclusion, in the sense that like I thought about what I would do. Like, here's what I would do if I had, unlimited free time. And it would be, I would play music or I would write a book or I would, do XYZ that I've always wanted to do. And the truth is that I would do those things. Like,
Yes.
I actually would do them if given the opportunity. I would execute on the vision that I have in mind. Like, that potential would be fulfilled uh, from my point of view. Um, it was wrong of me to assume everyone is like me. Like
Yeah.
that is a ridiculous way to think. It's a wrong way to think. It's a, egocentric way to think, whatever moniker you want to attach to it. It's not right. But I have learned over the years that a lot of people are not, or most people are not as agentic as I assumed
Yeah.
they would be. And that's, I think, largely what it comes down to is if like agency is some kind of spectrum or a scale or something that you can see some people are really high on that and some people are really low on that. And I think the people who are really high on that is a much smaller percentage of the population than we all believe.
That's the realization from looking back at that video. And I think that's completely accurate and true. I don't even want to say it's fair. That doesn't sell it enough. It's true. It's true. And I know how awkward it is for you to state your case on this, because restated in a super jerky way would be saying, well, I would take every opportunity to be awesome, so I assumed everybody else would. And that is me. Like that, in a way it can sound like that. Uh, but it's absolutely true. And I think that recognizing recognizing what most people are like is an important thing to do here. People who listen to this podcast, you are not normal in the statistical sense at all. At all. You just aren't. People like Kevin and I are not median people when it comes to having agency, when it comes to using our time. We're not like exceptionally heroic. We aren't like that. We're not famous for like Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week because we're masters of this kind of. No, it's not that. But we're also not losers, and neither are you. You simply would not be interested in any of the things that we talk about if you were normal. Um, and it's okay to do two things here. One of which is saying, I'm not the typical person, and it's okay to admit that the typical people are typical people. It's okay to go to Walmart and look around. And I was at Costco for the first time in many, many months. Tuesday, Monday, and I'm eating a hot dog, $1.50, with a soda and free refills. It's the best value in the United States. And I'm looking at what people are leaving with in their carts. And I thought how funny it would be to like try to start fights with people over what they're buying at Costco. There's this guy who had a box of organic hard-boiled eggs in a box. Like thinking of stopping his cart and being like, you're so lazy that you have to buy pre-peeled, pre-hard-boiled eggs. You can't take 10 minutes as like you're in the shower to let an egg boil, and you'll pay 4 times the price for, just antagonizing people over this stuff. But the truth is that, when you watch people in a setting like that, you see what they really do. You see what they really do. And we have more money than we've ever had, despite people claiming otherwise. We have more access to stuff than we've ever had. There's even, Kevin, I'm going to tell you this. We have a problem. We have a problem.
Why?
Did you know that DoorDash now services the area that I live in?
No, no, no. Is that really a problem? Are you going to fall under the spell of DoorDash?
I'm not. I'm not going
There's
to.
no way. Yeah, there's no way. But
I'm not
others will.
going
But
to.
but but that almost goes back to the point earlier. Is that we are
A lot of
weird,
people will.
and most people are not weird, and they will do the thing. They will do the thing. they will spend $37 on tendies.
Yeah, and so there are a lot more people who are going to use DoorDash as opposed to people like us who are like, oh, now it's really easy to get a great recipe and find like the most efficient and effective food to eat at the cheapest price. Like, no, we're 2%. We're 2%. And there's a reality that you have to accept about the other 98%. And that was the thing that wasn't in the video. Now, thinking back to it, how could you have even, let's say that you knew then what you know now? How could you have put that in the video?
I don't make that video. I wouldn't make the video today.
You wouldn't at all.
I don't think so. I don't see how it's possible to do it uh accurately without being a judgmental jerk, like you were basically saying I was tiptoeing around earlier. Like I don't know how you can talk about the fact that like there's only a small percentage of people who would like legitimately do cool stuff when if given the opportunity, rather than the majority of people who will just watch more TV, who will just sit
Yeah.
around. And there were a couple of things that happened this week that I thought were really interesting, which is why I have thought this for years. We haven't talked about it on the podcast until a couple of things happened this week that sort of like re-energized the topic in my mind. One was this newsletter that you sent me called The Paradox of Work
A Rob Henderson
by
one.
Rob Henderson, which was
Yep.
essentially about this topic. And it was about how people actually really, really need to work, even though they don't want to. And they say that they hate their job, and some people do. Like you have to always
Yeah, a lot of bad
caveat.
jobs.
There are a lot of bad jobs that people are mistreated at work. So like let's use that as like a presupposition and set that aside.
You ever worked for Vsauce2? Let me tell you.
Just a
Let me tell you.
dictatorship.
My file in
Um,
HR is like 3 feet thick.
there are also people who just kind of have normal jobs and they're not the end of the world and they still hate them anyway, because obviously they would way rather just sit at home and watch TV. However, there have been, uh, Rob Henderson talks about it is in this newsletter that, um, what were the studies that he referenced? He wasn't just like making this up. It had to
No,
do
no,
with this
no.
feeling of flow. So there's this book called Flow. That's the psychology of optimal experience. And it's this idea that once you get into flow, you're no longer like thinking about how miserable you are or your troubles or your worries necessarily. Time moves fast. You know, the day goes by. Wow, the day went by really quick because you were in this flow. You're in this like psychological state where you were essentially like locked in to whatever you were performance you were doing, and you weren't like staring at the clock. And essentially the book, which is from 1990, discusses the fact that people enter these flow states at work and they don't really enter the flow states outside of work. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty weird, interesting thing to wonder about. Is like, why do people enter flow states at work? And then if they're unemployed or maybe it's the weekend, I don't know exactly how he differentiated it, but you're not entering that flow state outside of work. So that's the paradox of work. It's like you don't want to go to work, you hate your job, you wish you could retire, and then at the same time, it's like kind of the only time you enter like a meaningful flow state
Yeah.
where you're like, your body and mind are aligned in a task and performing it.
Yes, and it's a tremendous project to find a new kind of flow. And if you know, an interesting phenomenon that I'm thinking about the ages of the age range of people who listen to the show. You know, younger people will have seen this with grandparents who retire, or people of the same age. Everybody knows a handful of guys who retired and then just withered
Yeah,
away.
basically died.
Yeah, and
Or
many of them
literally
do die,
died.
literally
Yes.
die, like
Yeah.
6 months after they retire. And people look at it and they're like, oh, what a shame. Worked all his life and, finally had some, the ability to do whatever. And 6 months later,
He
they're dead.
finally had the ability to do whatever he wanted. And
Yeah.
apparently what he wanted to do was die. Like, think about how twisted that is.
Yeah, minds and bodies go into complete crisis mode in retirement most of the time. Grandparents are famous for being overindulgent with grandkids, in
Mhm.
part because that's a new flow, that's a new job. If they're retired, they become twice the parent to their grandchildren than the actual parents are. It's cool that it gives the parents a break and all of that. That's great, but think about uh, think of them being in that spot and in finding value in this new meaning. It's a new form of work, and I'm sure it's more enjoyable than their job was, but the function to the person is really quite similar. um, Seeing people age after they retire, my God, do they age quickly in some cases. It's really strange. I see people infrequently because of my lifestyle. I might see them twice a year, right? So that means that like very real changes can happen to them physically in a 6 or 12 month period. So it's really stark, whereas you don't notice it when you're seeing them every day. Yeah. I see this just constantly. And part of it is aging and the sorts of things that do happen to you when you're 70. They do. Um, it- but the struggle that they have is tremendous because of the absence of not just their work, but the identity that quite often forms around work. You know, my dad was a very, very good cable splicer. He, when the phones go down, they would call it a trouble. There's a trouble here, whatever. Like there were so many times in a large radius area where he would have to be called in to fix the trouble that the guy assigned to it couldn't get. He was amazing. Well, when he retires, uh, what do you do? The thing that you're great at, that you're known for, that you love, doesn't happen anymore. You don't get those calls. He went into like carpentry stuff. He actually went back to college at one of the SUNYs and got a carpentry degree and did stuff like that. But a you have to take a meaningful step to fill that. And he liked his grandkids. He absorbed all of that. Not everybody not everybody does.
That
And the
was an
blow
agentic
is,
move of him to go back to school and learn a
yeah,
thing. Like, that takes effort.
yeah. It's the same with athletes, where it's even worse, to be honest, with athletes when they have to through their own decision or the market's decision, stop being athletes. You see these guys, our Twitter feed, like almost every day, you or I sends each other a story that's awful
Mhm.
about somebody going off the rails or straight up dying.
Mhm.
Um, it's bonkers when you get the relief, and these are guys who many times they're really financially comfortable. At least they had the option to be. They have good lives. They have good reputations. Like people respect them. They have a lot of things going for them.
Oh, you see this all the time with celebrities' children.
Mm,
Like, there are a lot of celebrities' children who they just have a really hard time. They're drug addicts, they're in and out of rehab. They're
Yeah.
just completely lost and listless, and they have all the money and opportunity and connections you could ever possibly want as a human being,
Mhm.
and it doesn't go well at all for them, for a lot of them, you know?
They have to figure out a lot of things, and that burden is it ranges from being terrible and destabilizing to being paralysis because it's so difficult. It's so difficult. And in a different kind of way, but the result is the same. That's the burden that comes up when life gets easier from things that are automated. You have to find a way to combat that. I don't like the idea that you'd say, well, I wouldn't make that video now, because I think it's very powerful to say, be the 5% of people who make use of this. Like, it's absolutely critical that you take advantage of this, and that you don't watch more TV, and you don't eat more DoorDash. You take advantage of it and be one of those people. I think that's a really powerful thing. But we saw, it may have been part of that newsletter that was like, oh no, it was actually a breakdown from a teacher that was saying the top kids are killing it. They're better than we were. They're taking advantage of all this stuff. It's awesome. Then there's a percentage that skate by, and that's in a way that's worse than in the past. And then the other 60% are disastrous, and it's very bad. That rang true to me, and I think that's what you've probably seen between the video and now, is like, that swath of problem is very large. It's very large. So the antidote is to be one of the kids that's crushing, put all the effort in.
Yeah, yeah, and I do think that that has to do with some of the blowback, like, I've even seen just in our Discord, sort of discussing issues with Zoomers,
Mm-hmm.
is that the types of people who want to argue about that in, like, the Create Unknown Discord are they're the 5%, like, they're not affected by, what these teachers are, making blog posts about, Reddit posts about, whatever it is. They're not grouped into that group. Like, they are crushing it. They are doing better. They are taking advantage of the opportunities and, the access to information and all of these different things. They are doing great. However, us old folks, us boomers, and like this teacher you're referencing, who have seen previous generations, have noticed just a considerable drop off for that lower percentage of people who aren't
Yes.
in that upper 5%, and are just like falling off a cliff when it
Yeah.
comes to things like just simple mathematics and reading comprehension and
Right.
things that used to be like kind of baseline taken for granted are now like not even close to being where they should have been.
No, the fat part of the bell curve and everything below it is in trouble.
That's it. Yeah, yes, right.
That's what it's come down
The
to.
middle and below are a big problem.
A standard deviation above is a mixed bag. There's some good and there's some bad. 2 and above, things are going really well and things are better than ever. They're really doing quite well. Um, but there are a lot more on the other side of that line, like way too many to deal with. Um, and it's a very real question. It's like, what do you do? It's if right now it's a hot topic to ban screens in schools and ban tech and all of this. Well, let's say I don't even want to go into it. So let's just say that that's a net positive for the 80% who are in trouble. It's depriving the 20% at the top of what they're doing so well right now. It's, you make one big rule, and you're both helping and harming, and that's a bad thing when you have a policy that has blowback for anybody like that. Um, so basically, you're in a position where you have to address situations on a broad scale, and then further problems ensue. Resentment is something that is not measured very well at all. There's not data on resentment like there is with reading and math scores. But in about 10 years, how do you think the top 10% of the highly agentic people are going to feel about the 80 or 90% below them, who have taken no opportunity to improve things, to create value for others, to do stuff that benefits everybody? This is, I've never really been into the Rand Atlas Shrugged stuff. Certainly not to the degree that many people I know have. Highly influential for them. But there's a, a, a real concept here that's like, at a point, the people doing a lot of the work and making sacrifices and pushing themselves and taking advantage of everything available to them do not feel good about themselves. They don't feel good about doing all of that so that other people can, get DoorDash every night. Conflict happens when you have that kind of mismatch. I don't see it. I don't see that going away. I see it increasing because of the response that has happened to to what you put out in that video. Not because of the video, but I mean, like, the world has evolved with the topic.
Right. If that
Actually,
gap
this is
continues to
Vsauce2's
widen,
fault.
yeah, blame it all on me.
Life was so good until you made that video.
Right.
You've destabilized society.
Yeah, I think that you're right, that not making it isn't the answer, because there's a lot of stuff that's just, well, everything in there, aside from my, I guess, general sentiment, is just objectively true. The data that's in the video still holds up and is true. So yeah, yeah, and you're right. The people who are able to take advantage of those things, or who are willing to actually do that, should be encouraged and need to be encouraged. And it seems like it's possible that we're like entering a phase in which they're going to be, to your point, maybe continually discouraged by what's going on, sort of behind them. But the thing that you mentioned about the things being banned, phones being banned, or social medias being banned, that was another thing that came up that sort of hit me like a ton of bricks this week. And it's why I wanted to also, and it's one of the other reasons I wanted to do this topic, is because I believe it's the UK maybe is proposing banning social
Yes.
media for anyone under the age of 16.
Including YouTube.
Oh, okay, including YouTube. And someone's response, who was interviewed for asking, "What do you think about this?" A kid's response was basically, "What am I supposed to do all day other than stare at a wall? Like,
Yep.
if I don't have social media, the only alternative, actually, it's both kind of staring at a wall, first of all.
Yeah,
You're
it's how big the
staring,
wall is and what it's made of.
you're staring at a
Yeah.
little glass wall or a big plaster wall. But so fine, you're a kid, you're like, "Oh, what am I gonna do? Stare at a wall?" Like, I understand that being, a little bit of a hyperbolic, petulant response makes sense. I get it. There were a lot of replies to this that were 100% in the corner of this sentiment, being like, "No, literally, there's actually nothing for kids to do anymore other than stare at a wall or go on social media."
There's no in
There,
between.
there's no in between. There's no other option.
No.
You either stare at a wall or you stare at your phone, and there couldn't possibly be any other opportunity. Meanwhile, in first world countries, you have every opportunity to basically do any human activity that has ever been invented.
It's
At
unbelievable.
some level, like you can engage in basically any of it.
It's unbelievable what's available. It's I really started to think about this in the last week, because I'm buying and reselling a lot of things uh, instantly. Let's call it 3 minutes, okay? But in 3 minutes, I can take something that I have never seen before in my life, and I don't know what it is. I can take a photo of that, feed that into ChatGPT, say, tell me what this is, and then as much detail as you can, and then ask a follow up question or two based on its answer, and have every detail I need to get that item to make it available to somebody who values it in a way that I'm giving them all the information they need. I have the information I need to maximize the sale of it, right? Um, it would have taken, I mean, in the past, you had a couple lanes of expertise that you knew about, and you were really confined to them, uh, because there was no way to know about other types of collectibles, whatever tools. I showed you this hammer I bought that I finally sold. It's a really weird auto body hammer. I showed you that, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, I had a sense of what it was when I bought it, uh, but I put the picture in. I said, "Oh yeah, this is a body shaping hammer, vintage body shaping hammer, and that's why it has four sides, and they do this and they do that. And here are some ones that other people are selling. Here are a couple that have sold. Here's what you could expect to get. Maximize the value long term, but it's going to take somebody a long time to buy it. If you need your $30 in the next 3 days, price it at this level instead." I, I knew everything I had to know about that instantly. And that's all just available and getting faster and better at an incredible pace. The things that you have to pay a subscription for right now are going to be free down the road. It's all available. I see things and I post them occasionally, like 100 classic books on Kindle. So you can read it on a computer, your phone, if you don't have to have a Kindle device, but 100 ebooks for 99 cents, 100 classics for $1. They're the ones that are, there's no copyright, whatever. They only price it at 99 cents because you can't go lower than that on Amazon. And many times they're free. They'll just do a promotion to like kickstart an account or something. I, what what more do you want? Like, what can be out in the world that people need that isn't there right now? And instead, you look at that and say, well, the only thing I can do is stare at a wall. No, you're a defective person at that point. The problem is not the world. The problem is you. The problem is not social media. The problem is you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is that it all goes back to the issue that I had with unlocking the human potential is that it's actually really, really hard for most people to come up with something to do, to decide to do it, and then to actually do it. Like that's
Yeah.
like a 3-step process is to like identify a thing that you could do. Step 2 is to decide to do it, no matter, take the steps to actually do it. And then step 3 is to do the thing. And it doesn't matter if it's like gardening or reading a book or writing a short story or learning an instrument or literally any of the things,
Yep.
any of them, you have to go through the process of identifying a thing and doing the thing. And that's so hard. It's so hard to do that for
It's
most
very
people.
hard.
It's just hard.
I I don't think enough people appreciate all the bad things that come with the long march toward utopia, where you don't have to worry about anything, you don't have to deal with anything difficult. Um, it blows. It blows. And even this it's like a trope in books and movies and TV shows and all that stuff. This comes up and it's like, haha, this is a joke. There was even one in, I think it was The Mandalorian. They went to a planet that didn't have to do like any work at all for any reason. This was the episode with Jack Black and Lizzo, and it got panned because they were in it. The truth of it is that they had become completely helpless losers as a planet because they didn't have to do anything. Um, you know,
Which is
part
called
of why
learned helplessness. Like that is a
it's learned
psychological
helplessness.
phenomenon. It has a name.
Yeah, it's a real thing. Things feel physically good because you know what pain feels like. Like a blanket feels very comfortable because you know how annoying it is if you have like a pair of pants with the tag in the wrong place that like pokes you in the small of your back 50 times a day, and it's annoying. You value the good stuff because you know what the bad stuff is. Um, People like friends and romantic relationships because they know how bad total loneliness is and how that feels. You don't value anything good unless you have a sense of what the opposite is. And it doesn't mean that you purposely make yourself miserable or that you purposely get a grueling job with coworkers who are out to get you. Like you don't create pain for yourself. That's not it. But you have to do things that put everything else into context. You have to put the work in understanding. And what we've increasingly seen is that the overall workload to understand life is continuously decreasing. And oddly, the real paradox here, which is beyond what Rob Henderson said, is that people seem even less happy with the state of things. Like they're more bothered than they were, despite everything being easier. They complain about everything. They lean in to complaining about everything as if that's like the new meaningful thing to do. This is dangerous and awful.
Yeah, is it not the most meaningful thing in a lot of people's lives, though?
Mm.
To complain? Because it seems like that is the
Yes.
case. It does seem like
Yes.
that we have fostered an environment in which just complaining is the thing that gets people out of bed. You don't even have to get out of bed to complain even. You could just stay in bed and feel satisfied and pass the time by complaining about like here one of the things that really bothers me that people complain about are um you know what? I saw some really disgusting tweets in response to Oliver Tree's passing
Did you really?
yeah, that were in this vein that were essentially like I hated his music anyway, so I'm glad that he's dead. Now he doesn't have to
Okay.
now he can't make any more of that like god awful music essentially.
Okay. That's horrible.
That is then that's the type of thing that like really drives me insane. That type of complaint where it's like, okay, no one is forcing you to listen to his music. That's not a thing. There's nobody like showing up to your house with a Bluetooth speaker and banging on your bedroom door and playing Oliver Tree's music. And now that he's done, now that he's gone,
It'd
they'll
be kind
stop
of funny
doing
if there
that.
were.
That'd be a good music video. But I see this with video games. I see this with movies where it's like, thank God, like that thing is gone because it sucked. When it's an entirely voluntary thing for you to engage with. Like a piece of art existing or not has no relevance. I would imagine to your own happiness. Like if you don't like a band, you don't have to listen to them. And it's
There's a lot
really
of
not
stuff
more complicated than that.
a lot of stuff I don't like. Don't listen. You know, like talking about Oliver Tree at the beginning. I was not into his music at all. That's okay. I can I can still think it's cool that he was doing something. Like it should be a very natural
Yeah, no,
natural
and
reaction.
I want to clarify. Like, it's very different to me than like the people who complain about something that they used to really like not being good anymore. Like the people who are like, "Well, I loved Star Wars, and now Star Wars stinks." Like, that's not what I'm talking about. That's completely different.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like an example like this Oliver Tree thing, where it's like, "Wow, thank God he's dead, so he doesn't make that crappy music anymore." It's like his music. Just don't listen to it. I don't understand. What are we doing here? Like, what are we even talking about? Other than you just being a dick.
So things are getting better, easier, more accessible at a rapid pace, and the response to it is increasingly uh, to make an identity and try to derive meaning in life from saying how bad everything is. This is a problem. Like it's legitimately going to blow. It's going to blow. Uh, that would be the follow-up video. Is a retrospective on this topic would be fascinating. It would be very, very good.
Yeah, I read a thing one time that I can't remember the details of, but it had to do with it was like monitoring maybe this is wrong and I shouldn't even bring it up. But the gist was like there was like monitoring the time spent of tribal peoples who like literally just would sit down all day. Like they actually did just
Mhm.
stare at walls. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know the specific thing that you're referencing. No,
Okay. Yeah.
I might, but I don't want to upgrade might to I think I do.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. Well, it would go into it was a really interesting thing. I'd have to look it up and verify, the actual validity of it. But it would sort of go into some sort of bucket here, suggesting that like perhaps just sitting and staring into space is like a time honored, perhaps default human activity. Is what I'm saying. That it is like unnatural, actually. Uh, and that probably is the case, that it is weird and unnatural to not do that and to like go out and, I don't know, like build bridges and maintain them and fix them up before they break,
Oh
so that
yeah,
they don't break in the future. And then like being active in that sense is super duper weird.
yeah. A really big part of that difference is, do you even think about other people in the world versus do you only think about you right now and what's in front of you?
Oh,
And
yes.
if there's no concept of having like a place in a larger world, eh, then it changes what you do. And this is so like in childhood development. I remember you doing a thing on babies a
Mhm.
really long time ago. Like there's a point where a baby realizes that like just because its hands are in front of its own eyes doesn't mean that other people can't see it.
Object permanence.
Object permanence, and also you know getting a sense of like there's more to the world than staring at the wall. That the girl in that video, which I linked in the Discord, that's the sad part, is where her first response isn't anything other than, what can I possibly do with my mind and eyeballs if this is taken away from me?
Right.
That's a really low level of social development. Okay. It is. It is. And I'm overwhelmed by how good this is as a topic to do again.
Yeah, well, because my conclusion now is that it freeing up people's time doesn't so even the subheading of the Rob Henderson newsletter was something about how like freeing up people's time will not unlock a wave of Mozarts or something like that.
Right.
And
Right.
which is just, yes, that's true. It will not do that because most people will do nothing productive with that free time.
That's the reality.
Most
That's
people
the
will
reality.
do nothing productive.
And that's really the big fight that everybody has internally is which type of person are you going to be? You know, what are you going to do with the free time? Even in little bits, like little tiny bits. It's probably, it takes me 20 to 30 minutes less time to wash my clothes now with my smartish LG washing machine than it did when I had an old one that like cranked, and it was not connected to anything. Do you watch 30 more minutes of The Boys, or do you do something actually useful? That's the question. Well, sorry, Roblox is banned for today. What do you do with that time? Is it stare at the wall, or is it like, I don't know, hang out with a friend,
Build a tree house.
talk to a human, move around so that you don't wheeze when you walk to the mailbox? Move around so that you can be physically useful to other people. It's upsetting the more you really think about the consequences of this mentality. It's upsetting, and I've never been grim about anything in the future until very recently. And it's pretty much for the reason why you've been rethinking this video. Conrad points out that it's hot on the way to the mailbox.
Yeah, what is that British show that's very funny, the mockumentary? It's like People Just Do Nothing or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my new catchphrase. Maybe that's the title of the follow-up video. People just do nothing.
The crazy thing is, all the people in that show are
do
like
tons
scamming.
Of stuff.
They do. It's constant.
Yeah. What is Chabuddy? What is this?
Chabuddy G? Yeah,
Chabuddy G.
Yeah, but like,
so funny. Always scamming.
It turns out that this is the most unrealistic element of a show like Trailer Park Boys.
Oh, such a good point.
Every single episode, everybody in this ecosystem is like scamming on something. Bubbles has a new thing. He's like Kramer,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There's always something with everybody.
Yeah, from J-Rock and his crew to Leahy and Randy, and everyone is really highly agentic on that show, which is which you need to create conflict and write stories and have a show. Because otherwise it's just people watching TV.
Yep.
And that's not a show. You're not going to watch other people watch TV while you're watching TV. You're the one who's doing nothing.
That's oddly the unrealistic thing about a People Just Do Nothing or Trailer Park Boys, is how that's not how real people tend to behave.
No, they're super creative and super proactive on on both of those shows. They're always like grinding on some kind. Well, Grinder, isn't that the main guy's name on
MC
people?
Grinder, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he in both shows. This is interesting. In both shows, they have all the habits, most of the habits, the important habits of the people at the very, very top, yet they're at the very bottom. That mismatch is probably what makes an awesome show.
I think
And
that's why it's funny. Yeah.
yeah, hilarity ensues because of this mismatch. But the reality is like, I have, I don't live in Brentwood. Um, there are some people around me who would be at home being extras in the Trailer Park Boys. They would fit in seamlessly. I'm telling you, they're not doing anything at all, at all.
No, no. They're not paving their trailer park driveway with hash in order to hide it from the cops.
They're not even, in all cases, taking their garbage down to the end of the driveway
Right.
so it can be picked up by the amazing service that reliably comes every Monday to haul your garbage away for literally $2.
Right. That is such an interesting point about this whole topic, is that we've automated garbage removal. It couldn't possibly be cheaper or easier to get rid of your garbage. And there are people who just throw it on their lawn instead.
Yes. Yes, their household garbage, they'll throw it on their lawn. And even like, this is a tiny detail, but like when but wheels on garbage cans are actually a fairly modern thing. Okay.
Mm.
It used to be, you really had to pony up to get a garbage can that had like good wheels on it.
It was the guy carrying Oscar the Grouch around on Sesame Street. He wasn't wheeled
Yes.
around. He had to have that big garbage man carry Oscar.
Unless you were spending a lot of money on a can, you were getting a shitty metal one, like Oscar lived in, or the equivalent like Rubbermaid one that you still had to physically haul. You couldn't just wheel it down. And I got a cheap one with wheels for like $25 shipped free from, I got it on eBay, oddly, but it's like 28 on Target. Even that tiny little detail is easier than it was 20, 30 years ago, where if you adjust for inflation, it would have been like $12 in the 90s. Like, how much better can everything possibly get? How much easier? How much cheaper? And the response is, no, I'm not going to do that. Do something. I don't care.
Just throw my garbage on the lawn.
Yeah. I feel like there's a point at which somebody could knock on your door to come in and take the garbage. And it's like, I'm not going to get up and answer the door.
Yeah, I don't want to answer it. So Jim Gaffigan has a great bit about this phenomenon when it comes to ordering food at a fast food restaurant at the drive-thru, where he talks about how, it got to a point where you just order a number. You're not even like, let me get a Big Mac and a medium French fry and a diet, medium Diet Coke. Instead, you just say, I'll have a number one. Just give me one and give me one and a number three. And then, of course, he takes it to its like absurd comedic level, which is eventually it's like grunts. You just go, you drive up and you just go, ah. And like, ah means Big Mac, and like, ah would be, I don't know, Chicken McNugget or something like that.
Being able to give a number at, like a Chinese place, anything ethnic where you don't know the language, it's such a nice thing not to have to pronounce some of the things, not to have to verbalize and butcher the names of food. You can just be like, yeah, 1328. Whatever. Like, the details are getting easier. And now you don't even have to say the number. You can pre-order on an app.
Yeah.
You can
have
poke
to call
a
anybody or
button.
talk to anybody. Yeah.
No. So there's very real differences, like in progress, between when you made this video, which wasn't, 100 years ago, but between then and now. And we've seen how everybody has responded to having everything be easier and having more time and
Oh,
having a great deal more
the
wealth.
other thing. The other thing that I thought was it's important to mention. Did any great art come out of COVID and lockdown? Like, it's been 6
Oh,
years. Are we now seeing, like, the fruits of the labor of people not having to work? Not having to go to work, not being allowed to go to work, having to stay home so that they were free to unlock their inner Mozart, and nothing happened?
was that in the newsletter?
No, I don't think so. Was it?
Is that just a Lieber thought?
It might be.
Because that is powerful.
Yeah, what
What
did we get
great
out of
art.
that?
You know what we got? We got Tiger King.
Well, but
That's the only thing I remember
that started
artistically.
before. They certainly started shooting that before
Oh,
COVID. That came out during COVID. That was not a result of COVID.
we got everybody watching Tiger King. That's what we got during COVID.
Yeah. You got everybody staring at the wall. Yeah.
Staring at the light up wall.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a really good point. There's no landmark, amazing, great American novel that came out of 2022. I think there's a lot of good YouTube. I do think a lot of people made YouTube channels. I don't know if that would have happened without a lockdown, but the sorts of things that I like to watch, like mechanical tutorials, stuff like that. A lot of those channels got their start in that era.
Yeah,
You know,
well, they'd be in that 5% then, I guess. That they,
they'd be in the 0.05%.
right. Well, the 5% of someone who actually did people who actually did something with the time, and then the
Yeah.
percent of a percent of them that turned that into something they could continue to be doing afterwards. But
Has
yeah, that
anybody
makes
in
sense. I believe you're right. There probably are great YouTube channels that started because of COVID.
I said Conrad said that, it's hot on the way to the mailbox. Now the USPS has a feature, I know you use it, that scans your mail and sends you use this, right? The preview thing that they have?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the morning, like this is part of my routine, is to see the mail that's going to arrive that day that has been automatically scanned by the post office. I see that it hits at like 7 a.m. or something. And so there are a lot of days I don't go to the mailbox because there's nothing at all of value in it. I don't even have to check the mail every day.
No, you don't even have to get
Pictures
out
of
of
it.
bed to know that there's no reason to go to your mailbox.
No, and when it's really hot or it's raining or something, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'll do it when something worthwhile comes, because they are sending me pictures of what's going to be in my mailbox later that day.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll make this follow-up video. I don't know. I'm interested to know what people have to say
Yeah,
about
me
this
too.
topic. I'm glad that we talked about it too, because I did change my mind a little bit. It was helpful to discuss it with you.
I think it qualified everything that you said. That's it refined elements of it. But your reaction to this, I don't think that you were wrong in the video, and I also don't think the way you feel about it now is wrong. I think they're both completely and totally accurate. That's the interesting thing. They just have qualifiers now. There's more to it.
Yeah, we have more information for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Don't be a loser. Tell them all not to be losers.
Yeah, don't be a loser. Make something mean something, pal. Yeah, there's a reason we have a tagline. All right. We're out of here. We'll be back next week. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting this podcast. Until then, we will see you, Space Cowboys.